With Season 1 coming to a close in just a few days, I wanted to review Season 1 and determine if the season was a new peak for Fortnite or if the season was a little bit underwhelming. Now normally I'd start off talking about the loot pool, but for Chapter 6 Season 1, I have to talk about the map to begin. If you've been around this channel for a while, you already know that I wasn't a huge fan of Chapter 3's map or Chapter 5, and that I loved our maps for Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and Chapter 4. So going into Chapter 6, I was skeptical about what direction Epic Games would take. Would they continue down the path of making the maps ultra realistic like Chapter 5, or will they return to that balance of graphics and charm like we received in Chapter 4? But I have to say, in every way possible, this map blew away all of my expectations. And while yes, Epic Games did stick to the more realistic approach that they introduced in Chapter 5, but this time around they managed to blend the realism with the cartoonish style of Fortnite in a way that we hadn't seen since Chapter 4. One of the things I love about this season's map is the balance of biomes on the map. Every region has its own unique look and color scheme. And when it comes to POIs, I genuinely believe that this is one of the most rich maps in terms of point of interest since Chapter 2, as there's not a single location on the map that I actively avoid or that I dislike. This is a rare occurrence, as in previous chapters, even with Chapter 4, I found myself cycling through the same handful of POIs while ignoring the others, but with Chapter 6, every location feels distinct, fun, and worth exploring. Now of course, I still have my favorites on the Chapter 6 map, as I love landing at Canyon Crossing, Flooded Frogs, and the Kappa Factory. There's also a ton of variety in the types of POIs on the map, which keeps the map feeling fresh and exciting all throughout the season. You have lively cities like Canyon Crossing and Seaport City, alongside factory locations like Pump Power and Foxy Floodgate, and residential areas like Mass Meadows and Hopeful Heights. All of this diversity goes a long way in making the map have a lot of personality, which is something that we were sorely missing in Chapter 5, and I'm glad that Epic has made the map a priority in Chapter 6, as it's easily one of my favorite maps that we've ever received. Now there's a lot to talk about with this season when it comes to the loot pool, especially with the full reset that came with the brand new chapter. And I have to give Epic Games major credit here, because I think all the new weapons are great additions, even if a few of them could use a little balancing. My personal favorites are the Hollow Assault Rifle, the Sentinel Pump, and the Precision SMG. And even weapons like the Fury AR, the Oni Shotgun, and the Surefire SMG weren't all my go-to choices. I still think they're fun to use, and there isn't a single new weapon for the brand new chapter that I consider to be bad by any means. And beyond the core weapons, we also got the Fire Mask and the Void Mask. The Fire Mask was something that I did use a few times, and while I found it to be more effective in build mode rather than zero build, it still wasn't an item that I enjoyed using. The Void Mask, on the other hand, is easily one of my favorite items to ever come to the game. Whether you're using it to rotate across the map, gain height quickly, or as an escape option when you're pushing a fight, this item is extremely versatile, and it's definitely an item that you have to have in your lineup for Chapter 6. Now during the season, we saw a lot of items return to the loot pool, which was refreshing to see because Fortnite has an insane backlog of previous weapons that I love to see return. One of the biggest highlights in terms of unvaults was the railgun, making its first appearance since Chapter 2 Season 7. It was unvaulted this season, specifically to counter Godzilla, and while it was awesome to see the railgun added back, I really wish that Epic Games would have went all the way and brought back the recon scanner to give us the ultimate combo once again. Another weapon that I was really happy to see return was the explosive repeater rifle, which I've always considered to be one of the most underrated weapons in the game. I just love these goofy weapons that still manage to be effective, and while the repeater's unvaulting did feel a little bit random for the season, I still think it was a great addition to the loot pool. But not every unvault for the season was a win. For example, bringing back the Ranger Assault Rifle felt a little useless in my opinion. We already have 2 solid ARs in the loot pool, and if Epic Games really wanted to unvault another, literally any other choice would have been better than the Ranger Assault Rifle, as I truly believe it feels like one of the weakest ARs in the entire game. And to wrap up the topic of the loot pool, we have the elephant in the room with the Typhoon Blade. Now look, I'm usually the last person to jump on the bandwagon when the Fortnite community overreacts, but in this case, I think the outrage is somewhat justified. And like I said, I'm not one to complain about OP items, but when the game is centered around guns that actually requires some skill to master, has a melee weapon that dominates the entire loot pool, and that almost everyone agrees is completely broken, I don't think it's nitpicking. I just think the players are being fair and honest when they say that the item needs a nerf. Now Epic Games absolutely delivered when it came to the skins for the season, starting out with the Battle Pass. Now when this season launched, I said that the Battle Pass was incredibly strong, and now that we've had a few months to sit on it, I still stand by that statement. Night Rose is one of my favorite tier 100 skins in recent memory. Neonjo was a great tier 1 skin, and the middle of the pass had some underrated gems like Jade. And the cooking didn't stop with the Battle Pass skins, as the season also had some of the best item shop skins skins in a long time. On the collab side, we saw King Kong, Mechagodzilla, and of course the second wave for JJK. But one of the biggest surprises was the addition of brand new DC skins, bringing us Ninja Batman and a brand new Harley Quinn, and both skins were fantastic. But by far, my two favorite collabs of the season were Samurai Darth Vader and the brand new Iron Man skin that just dropped. Vader is already one of the most badass characters in all of fiction, but this samurai-inspired look takes him to another level. As for Iron Man, I wouldn't even call myself a massive Iron Man fan. I have to admit that the Iron Man skin is one of the best Marvel skins that we've ever received. And when it comes to original skins, I think this might be one of the best seasons in a long time. So many popular survey skins made their way to the item shop. We got skins like Nemia, Flaky the Snowbird, Snowy Ops, Karasu, Hajime, and Mozaru. Now Epic Games had been on a streak of disappointing seasonal events leading up to Fortnitemares in 2024. And while Winterfest didn't quite reach the same height that Fortnitemares did, I still think it was a solid event overall. We got some great winter and Christmas skins, a pretty cool mini event to kick off the celebration, and of course a snow-covered map for the season. But what really made this Winterfest feel so special was the return of the Crackshot Cabin, allowing players to unwrap presents every single day. And I don't think it's controversial to say that this feature should be a staple of every Winterfest moving forward, and I still have no idea why Epic Games decided to remove it in 2023, but here's hoping that they learn their lesson and they include it every year moving forward. But where Epic Games really knocked it out of the park this season with the updates was a Godzilla event that we just received. Now I know there's some negativity online surrounding this event and crossover as a whole, but I think what Epic Games managed to cook up was absolutely insane. They could have easily called it a day and just given us the Godzilla skin in the battle pass, but instead we got a full-on in-game Godzilla where players could control the beast and cause chaos on the Fortnite island. Hearing and seeing Godzilla across the map was genuinely unforgettable, and it certainly made the season feel even more special. Now sure, I would have loved to play as Mechagodzilla or even King Kong, but at the end of the day, this was a Godzilla-focused event first and foremost, and I think Epic Games absolutely knocked it out of the park. And of course, we had a mini live event to wrap up the season the other day, and I'm happy to say, I think this is the best mini live event that they've ever put on, and it felt more in line to what we received with the traditional live events back in Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and Chapter 3, and it was definitely better than all the mini live events in Chapter 5. So overall, I'd say that Chapter 6 Season 1 steered the ship in the right direction for Epic Games after a rough year of Chapter 5. From a great map to a solid loot pool, fantastic skins, and engaging updates, this season hit the mark on just about every front. My final score for Season 1 is an absolute solid 9 out of 10, and I'll definitely be sad to see the season go, but I'm excited for what Season 2 has in store. But as always, let me know what you think down in the comments below, and as always, take care and stay twisty.